Thanks for joining us live with the Miami's Community News. And our guest today is Frank Calderon from the Miami-Dade Solid Waste Department. Welcome, and thank you for coming back
Thanks
again.
for having me.
So we know things change all the time, and most of the time we hope that the changes, the improved service. So tell us about the bulky waste pickup changes that have been made. That's for people that are not aware. That's things you might put outside your house, waiting for the county to pick them up, not in the green cart or the blue cart.
Correct. Well, we changed it starting this year. Basically, what we did was made an appointment system. In the past, you would call, and it might take 8-9 days for them to pick up. You would place the stuff out. You call first. That's one rule that has not changed. You have to call first. But in the past, you would call first, and it might be, then you have a set out that you'd say, I'm going to set it out. I'm calling on a Thursday, but I'm going to set it out on Saturday. You have 8 or 9 days between, from the time you set it out to the time they pick it up. Now there's a set appointment date, and it gets picked up on the appointment date. You are allowed to place it out 3 days before. You have to go online, or you can call 311 and to see what appointment dates are available in advance, and then just plan accordingly. But always, even now, even though we changed part of it, it's still the same rule. You have to call before placing items out.
And when you do that, then the enforcement officer that's out, he will bypass your house because he checks and see that you called in.
Exactly.
If you didn't do that, he has to make a decision whether he's going to give you a warning, which takes time and energy and money to do that.
Yes.
And then he's going to tell you need a call to get a pickup.
Or to put it in biblical terms, it's like putting sheep's blood around your doorway.
Yes. So I can tell you that in horse country, that the cleanup there is along 118th Avenue is tremendous. All right. So the county's really been doing a good job in keeping that clean. So let's talk about on the bulky waste pickup, which again are the things you put outside your house. It could be landscaping material, old furniture,
yes,
right? But not refrigerators.
Yes, you can, but the refrigerators, you have to remove the door. We've mentioned it quite a few times on here before, but it bears repeating. It's for safety reasons. I grew up in an era in the 70s. So I'm giving my age away here, but I grew up in an era hearing like every few weeks you'd hear a tragedy of a child getting, playing hide and go seek. And, what's a great hiding place? A refrigerator, somebody said on the side of the road. Yep. Problem is that those things are airtight, yep, which is why they keep your food cool. And you get locked in there and nobody knows to look for you. You can't get out. You know what happens. So that's why they tell you remove the door.
So refrigerators and freezers, okay, you take off the doors. Stoves.
Stoves you can set out there. They're not as tight. I imagine you can push the door, so that's not an issue. Plus, they're much smaller. Stoves can be set out. Any type of appliance, basically.
So, tell us about how often the county will come out for bulky waste pickup.
Bulky waste. Well, you get 2 pickups a year that you can schedule, and each pickup is about 25 cubic yards. 25 cubic yards is about a truckload. Or to put it in in other terms, since we're already speaking about appliances, about the size of a washing machine. 1 cubic yard is about the size of a washing machine, so 25 of those, if you can imagine that many. And you can combine if you need to. However, you're going to use up the if you go over 25 cubic yards, you're going to use up your second pickup if it's available. For the year. A pro tip here is if you have only a small amount that goes over, you might want to take that small amount yourself to the self-help center, the TRC, one of the TRCs, the trash and recycling centers that we have 13 of, and just limit it to the 25 so you have that other pickup available.
And that is per folio number. So if you own 2 properties next to each other, separate folio number, you get 2 for each one.
Yes, and as a matter of fact, if you have a duplex, it's 2 for each unit in the duplex, and because the way they're structured, they allow you to actually combine up to 4 pickups as long as the 2 neighbors in the duplex are in agreement. You can combine up to 4 pickups. That's the only situation we kind of allow that. So you can go up to 100 cubic yards if you're doing a massive, and you have a duplex.
Well, and what a great time to do a massive cleanup of your yard after this week of rain, which we've all had the experience of all the things that happened. And I saw a lot of trees, not a lot, some trees that broke, the limbs broke out on the street. I see Florida Power and Light people are out trimming stuff. So hurricane season just started a few weeks ago. It extends to November. The peak period is in August, right? Which is around the corner.
Yeah.
So people can go and they can trim their yards, call 311, set an appointment, and then bring it out there. Right.
Yes.
It's a really good idea because when that stuff falls in your yard afterwards, you may have to wait a while for the county to come pick it up.
Yeah. The best time to have done that was before hurricane season, but the second best time is do it now that there aren't any storms out there that I'm aware of anyway that are brewing or a possible threat.
So back to some of the changes that have been made. So why were some of these changes made that shifted how people can get their bulky waste pickup?
Well, one of the big issues that we were having with the long wait period in the past, where it was a little more casual, you could just call and my set out date is going to be such, and then you place it out and then it's not going to be picked up for 8 or 9 days. You see piles of bulky waste all over the place and it's kind of unsightly. This reduces the amount of piles you're going to see. And the amount of time that they're out there. The other issue also is if you put it on you have a nice green swale that you really take care of and you put it out there and it's not picked up for 8 days. Our crews do, I think, a phenomenal job of going out there and they clean up everything that you place out there. So they're not going to leave anything behind. But if something's been sitting on grass for 8 days,
that's
the grass is no longer going to be green.
That's my number one issue. It's like I put it out. That can take weeks or a month or 6 weeks before it starts to grow back. In the meanwhile, I'm like, I get crazy over myself. So when I do it, I either do it in the driveway or there's an empty lot next door that's owned by our neighbor. So he says, you can go ahead and put it over there. All right. Which very happy to do that. So one of the things we see frequently, people driving their small cars with these big mattresses on them. I don't know if those are new mattresses being exposed. You can see the tops like folded over, right? Or whether they're going to the dump. What are the rules and the guidelines concerning old mattresses?
Well, if you are one of our customers, you can use the TRCs. I think there's a handful of TRCs that do not accept mattresses. You can either get the list online of TRCs, or you can call 311. Or if you, we send our customers every year the waste service guide. It's a guidebook that gives you like all the different services we provide, and we print it in English, Spanish, and Creole. And in that guide, you also have a listing of the TRCs and which ones will accept mattresses. If you can use a bulky waste pickup to get rid of a mattress. Pro tip again here is make sure it's not just a mattress, but you've got other things so that you make the maximum use of your pickup. If you just put a mattress out there, a mattress might take a couple cubic yards of space, but those 25 cubic yards are gone. You can't just say, oh, I'm doing 2 today and 23 tomorrow. It doesn't work that way. So, but if you do put it out for, if you take it to TRC, you can just take it and dump it. If you put it out for bulky, you're supposed to wrap it in some kind of like a plastic, like a movers. You can get it in moving stores or storage places. They usually sell them.
Tell us what's the next journey for an old mattress. Tell us what happened.
After that, with us, mostly they end up going to landfill, unfortunately, because they are mixed materials and we can't really process it at our resources recovery facility where we incinerate most of our waste. Most other types of waste does get incinerated there, but something like that's kind of mixed, unfortunately, we don't. And I know that there are people and organizations out there working on potentially recycling mattresses at some point, but we're not there yet.
So it's the products that are used to make the mattress that make it not recyclable.
It's not so much the product, it's the mix, because you've got metal coils that are, they'll tangle anything up. And you've also got soft padding, and then you've got like a cloth covering. And those, just the mix of that, it just can't be processed properly.
Okay, if we could, let's talk about the green carts that we all have. There are about 340,000 people, residents that have those.
Households, yes.
Households. You go to most of the places 2 times a week. Everybody's on the same schedule.
Yes.
I mean, the same days of the week.
When we do garbage pickup, yes, twice a week.
Twice a week. And I'm still amazed. How many green carts can each of those trucks handle before they have to go and empty?
They can do about 1,100 homes, more or less. Which would roughly correspond to 1,100. There may be a few homes that have an extra cart. Not a lot of homes have an extra cart. but roughly 1,100. About no, actually, before they have to go dump, let me backtrack. They do about 1,100 in a day. They typically get to about 500, between 500 and 600 before they have to go dump and then come back out.
So it must compress this stuff a lot.
Yes.
So if you know, so the green cart filled with household trash,
Yes.
Food stuff, and what does it get while in the truck? How small is that green cart? The contents.
Can it be compact? I'm not sure.
It's a lot. It has to be in order to get 500 of those in the.
Yeah. They they compact. I just don't know to what extent or how much volume they reduce it by. But yeah.
So the truck is full. They go and they take the 500 more or less carts, and they take it over to Doral.
They take it to different places. Most of it ends up going to Doral anyway, because we have operations where we transfer from different places. We have 3 transfer stations in the county, and we also have the South Day landfill and the North Day landfill. And basically depends on which location the driver's closest to, just because you can spend a whole great part of your day just driving halfway across town just to dump. So in order to reduce that from happening, or keep that from, minimize that, because you can't fully keep it from happening, but to minimize it, we have these 3 transfer stations that are out in neighborhoods that might be closer to some of the drivers, and they'll go there and dump instead, and then they'll go back out.
So Frank, so we have these you talk about trucks driving all over town. What's the good news about a new truck that you're going to be taking delivery of soon?
Yes, soon, very soon. I don't know how soon exactly. But yes, we are looking at getting delivery of our first electric waste collection vehicle.
That is going to be a big deal. I think
Yeah.
it's something that everybody can be proud of. And whoever started bringing this to the forefront, my hat's off to them, because I know this doesn't happen overnight.
No. We actually got the vehicle debuted at Waste Expo, which took place in, I want to say, beginnings of May. At this point, we're waiting for delivery. I don't know how much of that is that we're actually waiting for it to be delivered versus we have to be able to, once it gets here, be able to charge it. And I know they were working on the as like the special preparations you need to do to be able to charge it at our resources recovery facility. So basically, it's going to be recharged by the incineration of the very waste it collects.
It's amazing. So at night we go home, they go to sleep and get recharged in the trucks. At some point, we'll go to whatever facilities there and recharging it, very similar to what they would do with fuel.
Right? Yes.
And recharge can take anywhere from 3 hours to 6 hours. Or
yeah,
8 hours,
I'm not sure how many hours the trucks are. That's something I've been curious about, and I put out the question. I haven't gotten an answer yet, but yeah.
I was watching a commercial where it was about some lawnmowers, and they said, and it was battery operated lawnmowers. And my concern was always, is it as strong as a gas mower? And so they said, this is as strong as a gas mower. All right. That's a big deal. All right. Because we have this perception, if it's loud and it's noisy, all right, then it's strong. And if it's quiet, it's not. Right. And what a difference that will make. And at first, when I was thinking about that equipment, so what do? You bring a battery with you? Well, the same thing you would do with gas. You would bring a gas can with you and you leave it out in your truck, and then you go put gas in. So in this case, they'll have a bunch of batteries, and they'll be able to put that in there. Do you have any idea how big the battery is for these trucks?
No, I don't. I've never seen the actual like battery in a car or whatever. I mean, you see the size of cars. I've seen Priuses are actually kind of small, and they have a battery, although they're more of a hybrid, a gas and hybrid. But yeah, I don't know how big they are.
There'll be a whole generation out there which essentially will know just mostly electric vehicles.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not around the corner, but it's pretty close. Right. I don't know that my son he might have owned a gas vehicle before, but he's had an electric vehicle for, I guess, 3 or 4 years. And he goes to his apartment complex. The valet charges it up at night, and they go get it in the morning. I go, that doesn't happen at our house. We are considering doing that. And so there are two types of things we're looking at. We can have the 220 brought in, where it can charge it much faster. The 110, which doesn't seem to be time effective, right?
Yeah.
But it should be interesting to see how we as a community look at our charging stations and how we're going to deal with being there for 20 minutes or 30 or an hour. Excuse me. So it should be interesting to see how we handle that.
Yeah, I know I've seen quite a few charging stations in and I see them. The number
Yes.
seems to be growing.
And it looks like this administration is going to make sure that they're out there, so we will have more choices. Also, the county has a big pink truck. Is it one pink truck or several?
Oh, we have several. As a matter of fact, just this past Friday, we had an event in the evening where one of our trucks, it was a grappling truck, like the type we use for bulky, pink, for breast cancer. We had it at the event. It was a tropical park.
So Breast Cancer Awareness Month is in October, around the corner.
Yes.
People can participate. They can go to American Cancer Society, or there are lots of other places. There are actually events you can go to. I think there's still one that's downtown.
They have the annual walk, which is typically held at Marlins Park. And we usually have our trucks. We usually have several of our trucks, in fact, the pink trucks there.
That's so significant when a large organization like the county and the government takes those first steps. We can look at that, and because it creates a pathway for us to be able to do that. And I've told you before, when my daughter was this big, she comes home from school, Daddy, if you hit me, I'm going to call the police. And I go, oh, good. Where'd you learn that? At school? Okay, perfect. And so you realize at that young level, that's the time to talk about recycling. And at some point, it may have some other term, because it's just going to be the way that it is, I suspect, after a while. What we've said about fuel is we need to make some changes and to have the electric vehicles. So tell us about the makeup of the drivers in your department, male and female, more or less.
Well, I don't know. It's mostly male, but we do have females. We do have some female drivers, and we have female drivers that drive a variety of vehicles. The waste collection vehicles, we have them driving the bulky waste pickup with the grappling hooks, and I've seen some that drive. In fact, I saw one maybe a couple of years back when we were taking pictures of the various vehicles we have, who drives one of the big 18-wheel, the transfer, that move from the transfer station, move the garbage from transfer station to resources recovery, for example. And she was driving the pink truck, the one that we have, the big rig, the 18-wheeler. So yeah, we do have different.
Don't mess with her.
No. So we do have different. We do have diversity in our driving corps, and yeah.
And if people were wondering if there's openings at the county, they could go where to look for that.
Miami-Dade.gov/jobs. I don't think we have our own department has a driver positions currently announced. I know that they always need drivers, so if it's not announced this week, it'll come up pretty soon in the near future. At least that's what my HR has assured me. Because yeah, we need drivers.
It's just the way that it is. So in order for somebody to apply, they need to have a certain type of license. What is that?
A CDL, and I believe it's a Class B CDL, if I'm not mistaken.
And why would somebody get a CDL license? Because they want to drive a truck. It's not something they would just do ordinarily.
Yeah, that's correct. There's a special school that you can go to for that. It's not something that you can just learn, casually, I think, like you do. I learned when I was a kid, they had driver's ed in school. Plus I learned by driving with my dad, and my dad actually tried to show me how to drive a stick shift. I couldn't get it. I learned later, but I couldn't get it when he was trying to teach me. So I learned with an automatic, but yeah, that's not the way you would learn. You would get a CDL. You have to go to school for that.
When I was teaching my son to drive, he just got so frustrated, just put it in the park and left. Because we're all sort of like freaked out when our young people go to do that. So people that have that license, they've gone to school to learn it, so they have a propensity to want to be able to drive those, and they're very, very good. I watched them; they were able to maneuver those machines way better than I do in my little tiny F-150.
I should add that that in addition to having the CDL, they do want people with experience, of course. But beyond that, when you go to when you apply for our department, if you get hired, they'll teach you how to drive on those trucks specifically. So, and it's because you're going to have to. First of all, there's right-hand drive. The trucks have drive on both sides, so you can kind of choose. But when you're doing your route, you're going to have to go on the right-hand side. So you're going to have to learn how to drive it on the right hand, and then there's a joystick you got to manipulate to get the arm out and pick up the carts and stuff.
I've had a lot of experience at like Coney Island with that little
Little
thing
machine.
Does that count towards getting a license? So my hat's off to the women that do that, of course, the men. and it's a great opportunity when it comes up to work for the county. Great organization. I've seen such improvements with the county, and I've seen it in the Parks Department, the Animal Service Department, working on the roof. Thank goodness. All right. Animal Services Department, seen with Public Works. I've seen it enforcement. Let's talk about enforcement. People throwing stuff out of trucks, not littering, which is you flick something out the window, but they take stuff and dump it on the side of the road.
Yeah, we have a group of people that will go out and investigate illegal dumping. And you're talking like you mentioned, it's a bigger. It's big. It's more than just throwing a fast food bag out or flicking a cigarette butt out of your car. We're talking about people that actually stop the vehicle, and it can be commercial, it can be residential. People dumping old appliances and stuff somewhere where they think it's abandoned and nobody's paying attention. But we have waste enforcement officers who do pay attention, and they work, by the way, with an illegal dumping unit of the Miami-Dade Police Department. So yes, there are police officers whose job is to find, catch, and arrest people who illegally dump.
So recently, I know that there were at least 2 arrests, and you do have security cameras that are out. Like if you're out in the Everglades and they set up these cameras when there's movement, they'll be able to do that.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure I know where a couple of them are, but if you dump it, folks, you're gonna probably get caught. So don't. So my hat's off to the county and the police department and solid waste, because that makes a difference when we're driving down the road and we see stuff, and especially if you see it for a while, a day or 2 or 3, it's like you sort of like, okay, and then you go, what's wrong with the system? And it provides a crack in the system, which we obviously don't want. We have the blue cans that are out there for recycled material. You can put cardboard in there, don't squish it in. You can put cans in there. You can put plastic bottles, most plastic bottles, especially the water ones that we like that, right? Gets recycled. I understand that on the metal cans, like Coke cans, that sometimes that stuff turns around back, recycled within 2 months.
Aluminum in particular can be recycled within 6 weeks.
That's amazing.
It's a very fast process for aluminum. Yeah, I mean the other materials all have their different processes and lengths of time. Aluminum's the one I'm most familiar with, and I remember reading in various places 6 weeks, pretty much.
So we're going to wrap up. Here's the things we need to recycle more. All right, make sure you put your garbage cans out handle towards the house. All right.
Yes.
And most people have that twice a week. You service 340,000 residents. Huge.
Yes.
And you're going to get your first EV truck.
Very shortly.
Big deal. People can call 311, or they go to miamidade.gov/solid
waste
and find out everything about solid waste. It's really easy. Even guys my age can figure out how to use it. But so my hat's off to making it simple. Again, Frank Calderon from Miami-Dade Solid Waste Department. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you,
and for what you do. Folks, thanks for joining us, and have a great day.